I will start off with just a couple of very quick questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience for additional questions afterwards. Obviously, you have a personal connection to Matt. At what point did you decide that you should tell a different side of his story than what everybody seems to think they know about him?
I think almost immediately in the aftermath of his death. I was already a film student, and I was watching a lot of what the media was putting out there about him, and I was seeing my friend, who was wonderful and extraordinary and hilarious, but also flawed, just like we all are. I was seeing him turn into this icon, and I just thought that was a little bit unfair to him. And so I thought, as a friend, as a filmmaker, that it was my duty to one day make a story that showed who he was in a truthful, sensitive way. And honestly, it just took me like over a decade to get the courage to actually begin the project.
Yeah. Judy and Dennis, obviously, you live with this story constantly. What were your immediate reactions in Michele coming to you and saying, she wants to do this story, she wants to present Matt in a different light than what everybody has sort of, held him to? If you talk a little bit about sort of your response to becoming involved with the project.
Well, we knew one day it would happen because Michele is a storyteller and she was in film and she loved Matt like we all did, and we just sort of waited for the right time to present itself. And I think at about the same time we came to the conclusion that there was this Matthew Shepard out there that we didn't recognize, and it was unfair to Matt to be depicted that way, and even young people who were looking up to him to not understand that he had flaws and overcame some of them, but not all of them. Right. That we all struggle. So that was really critical to us, I think.
And for you, what was for you perhaps the most challenging thing to address that maybe you haven't been thought about of how to best represent, or anything that sort of maybe made you pause about whether you should include or how to include?
Oh. There's quite a bit of stuff. I think, Matt being gone so long, I've kind of forgotten a lot of things about him, so it was bringing back a lot of memories, and I was kind of not hesitant because I knew I wanted it to be included in the film, but showing his dark moments and his struggles with depression. I mean, that's tough, but we wanted to be honest. Yep. So we definitely always knew that those moments would be included in, but it's always difficult to put that out there.
Right. And for the Shepards, what in the film perhaps might be the thing that gives you the most light and joy remembering your son from the film?
It's seeing him on film again. It's having him with us again. Yeah. And then when the film's over, he's gone again.
Yeah. I would love to open it up to some questions, and I can jump back in. But it's obviously a very emotional film. But if anybody has some questions for either the Shepards or for Michele to ask.
I got a question for the director. What was it like for you emotionally? How did you handle the editing of the film, looking at all this footage, reviewing all of this?
I'll just be honest. Liam, this is my husband, who's also the producer of the film.
Liam, yep.
Say hi. He's the brain of the operation. It was really difficult, and at one point he was just like, you know what, you should talk to someone. So I actually talked to a professional counselor she was just like an awesome kind of girlfriend, and just like chatted with her about the whole process, and that really helped. And I have an amazing support system, these wonderful folks, and Liam. So it was just I knew it was going to be difficult, and I just had such a great support system around me to help me through it.
And how long did the editing process take for you?
Oh, only a short year. Yeah.
Tiny
little time.
Other questions?
I noticed the camera was moving all the time when traveling. I was just wondering if you could speak to that.
Sure. I mean, that was definitely a conscious decision. We see this film as a journey film. You're going through the journey of Matt's life, and I wanted that echoed in every way that I could. So the camera movement was easily echoed in that. So our cinematographer, who's amazing, we worked on sort of the style, always have movement and not any static establishment shots, just always moving through all the different parts of Matt's life.
So the question, if people didn't hear, is that there is an international element to the film based on Matthew's background, obviously. So what has been the U.S. response versus perhaps elsewhere that it's shown internationally?
Well, the film has been shown in Canada as well as the U.S. for Taiwan, Amsterdam.
Yeah, they're awesome in Amsterdam.
Croatia.
Croatia, that's right. Going to Russia. We're going to Russia tomorrow, so.
I'm a little worried about you guys going to Russia.
It's going to be cool. And we're gonna be in. They want to take us down to Mexico too. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's that's one of the things that people often are a little surprised by about the story, is they view it as a very American story, and Matthew Shepard, the sort of Matthew Shepard, versus Matt Shepard. Everyone thinks, oh, Wyoming, and then all these other things come to light, and so I think that's one of the more interesting things about the story, and I hope something that will make it more relevant, to everyone, not just to everyone.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
I just wanted to say thank you for making a film like this. It's so important. And to the Shepards, happy birthday. Hope you get to have a nice stiff drink after this. But I was a senior in college when this happened, and it's one of those moments where, as a gay person, a young gay person, it's one of those life-changing moments when this happened. And Judy, I heard you speak at RFK Stadium in 2000. I think it was this huge human rights campaign thing, and you could literally hear a pin drop in that stadium, and it was a moment I will never forget in my life, and it was so powerful, and this film was so powerful, and sitting behind you was just like this weird experience. But just really thank you for doing this and being involved in a project like this.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I remember that weekend very well. I remember being part of the march, and we came into the march. It was in D.C. They called it they tried to do the Million Man March in 2000, Equality March, and we got into the parade, and I remember thinking, I'm going to get killed right here in this parade. They're going to run right over me with these giant backpacks, and this dirt is blowing, in her face, and it was truly the most scary experience I'd experienced up till then. All those people, but we knew they all cared about us and Matt's story, and I felt like it was a unifying moment. It was a clarifying moment for us to understand how many people were out there who desperately wanted to see change, and I think it clarified us how important maybe our voice might be for however little time we could use it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
We probably have time for one or two more questions. Yes, please.
My question is, what is the plan for the film, and what can we all do to help support this film and continue sharing Matt's story in all of the ways that now it is being shared?
The film is going to be in theaters next year in February and March. We've booked the major markets, LA, New York, Toronto, as well as some other markets around North America, and we'll be adding more. So we'll be starting to announce the dates. We'd love if you tell your friends to come out when we're in New York next year. And we're going to focus heavily on educational because that's obviously really important. The most important part of the story. Working with the foundation and other nonprofits, and we'll probably be rolling it out slowly next year just because we're a small team and we want to kind of get every piece of the process right. But yeah, it's going to be around for a long time, we hope.
I think one thing that everyone can do is just to try and be more compassionate and accepting of one another. To remember how angry and outraged we all were when this happened, and to just reflect on the impact you can have on another person, and to live your life with courage, like these two people to my left.
We'll wrap things up, but I do want to talk a little bit about the Russian trip. And are all of you going to Russia?
Just
the three of you, yes.
us.
So obviously you're entering into a territory, into a place which has had a very bad track record in the last few years of towards LGBT rights. So how have you sort of prepared yourself to go there and show the film and sort of deal with, the reactions that you might get from a perhaps not as enlightened, let's say, audience?
I just got a big scarf and a hat. And I checked into my flight. That's it. I'm trying to think of it in little baby steps
Yes,
because I might not get on the plane, but
Right.
we all think I'm joking, but we all think it's very important to be there and to show that we support them and that they're not alone and their experiences aren't exactly different or non-traditional, and I think they need to see a story like this.
Absolutely. And Judy?
Well, I would be lying if I didn't say there was some anxiety, happening. But when we lived in Saudi, we were very well aware that the media has a way of making things seem like it's all right next door, and so we're going with that attitude that we're going to see something, we're pretty sure, but we don't think it's going to be as bad as our worst nightmare. So I'm not worried about our personal safety. I'm actually more worried about the safety of the people who come.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Well, it's a perfect film to be able to show the real consequences and the real stories and real faces behind the sort of myths that people do share in places that are less accepted.
One thing we really want to get across is how important it is for families to remain together and to support their children. And we just think that the families in Russia would really support their children, that a grassroots effort would make a change.
Absolutely.